If you were to ask me the definition of honor, you'd probably be a bit disappointed in my answer. I personally think that when a person is being honorable, they are doing what they think is right, even if what they think is right isn't necessarily what I think is right, because they are at least doing it because they think that that is the right thing to do. And I also think that dishonor is when somebody does something just for themselves or just for their own personal benefit. I'm about to tell you a story of complete dishonor. This is the story of Jordan Belfort, Stratton Oakmont, and the Wolf of Wall Street. The year is 1962. Many events within the year will drastically change the direction America is headed. Some of these events include the Cuban Missile Crisis and Martin Luther King meeting with Kennedy at the White House. But some of these events wouldn't have an impact until much later.
He delivered that message, bearing on recent events in Cuba.
On July 9th, 1962, Jordan Belfort was born in Queens, New York. At a young age, Belfort discovered his ability to sell pretty much anything to anybody. Belfort's father, Max Belfort, was an accountant, and his mother stayed at home to raise him. In 1980, Belfort decided to open a fish and meat business, which soon went belly up. After this failure, Belfort decided to test his skills in a new arena. In 1987, stocks were becoming fairly popular. Jordan saw this as an opportunity to jump into a new business field, so Jordan decided to join a stock brokerage. This was so he could learn the ins and outs of the business, and within 2 years, he opened up his own stock brokerage. Jordan, along with his business partner, Danny Porish, opened the business and named it Stratton Oakmont.
Gentlemen, welcome to Stratton Oakmont. You schnooks will now be targeting the wealthiest 1% of Americans.
It's believed that Oakmont didn't start with necessarily sketchy intent, but within a few years they were already breaking a couple of rules just to get business moving a little bit. One of Oakmont's strategies was to sell a numerous amount of specific stocks to raise their prices, and then sell off the stocks that the company had owned. This strategy would sometimes raise the stocks' price to about double what they used to be. Of course, this practice is completely illegal.
The key to making money in a situation like this is to position yourself now before the settlement. Because by the time you read about it in the Wall Street Journal, it's already too late.
In 2013, Leonardo DiCaprio took on the role as Belfort in the film The Wolf of Wall Street.
Sorry, I appreciate the call. I really have to give this some thought and talk to my wife about it. Can I call you back?
And even though Leonardo DiCaprio's performance was phenomenal, he didn't win an award. Of course, Belfort couldn't keep it up forever. One thing that contributed to his downfall was his massive drug addiction. Drugs caused Belfort to have many accidents, one including crashing a helicopter into his own yard, and him accidentally sinking his yacht. Drugs are also suspected to be a contributing factor to his second divorce. But going beyond drug problems, Stratton Oakmont soon fell into trouble with the law. In 1992, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission had finally decided to do something about Oakmont's shady strategies. The SEC made claims that Stratton Oakmont had been defrauding and manipulating stocks, which they obviously had been doing. In 1996, Stratton Oakmont was liquidated to pay off the fines and settlements. And in 1999, Belfort pleaded guilty to money laundering and fraud. In 2003, Belfort was sentenced to 4 years in prison and a personal fine of $110 million. While in prison, Belfort developed an interest in writing, and his cellmate, the comedian Tommy Chong, encouraged him to write a book about his life.
Now, to give a warm Auckland, New Zealand welcome for my good friend and the world's greatest sales trainer, Mr. Jordan Belfort.
Thank you. Sell me this pen.
In 2008, Belfort released the book The Wolf of Wall Street. The book told the story of his adventures at Stratton Oakmont, and then in 2009 he released the sequel called Catching the Wolf of Wall Street. Belfort's story is a perfect story of corporate greed. It's the perfect example, almost to an extreme point, of a corporation taking advantage of its consumers. Oakmont's legacy is a legacy of lying and cheating, But is it really different from any of the companies that we see today?
Sell me this pen.
Even if Oakmont has been shut down, corporate greed is still a huge problem today. Nowadays, corporations are jumping at the chance to get you addicted to their products. Just as Belfort did, corporations are willing to tell you lies. Many TV commercials will show their consumers having a very fun time and enjoying life more than others. This is just simply not
And
true.
you instantly glamorizes you. You realize that, don't you? Makes you very attractive.
Thank you. Mr. Jordan Belfort!
After jail time, Jordan Belfort decided to devote his life to paying back the people that he betrayed in his youth. And honestly, I think that's what we could use more of. Now, I understand that corporations aren't just one person, but if they could just stop looking at us as numbers, then I'm sure that they would be more understanding. Because right now, all the corporations even care about anymore is their sales numbers. And when all you're looking at is percentage signs, you kind of forget the whole human element thing. You forget that those aren't just numbers on a sheet. You forget that those are actual human beings. And I think if they continue doing this, then they're just gonna lose their sale. Because for some reason they think that it's just fine to lie to people, and that people won't care. Now, like I said, I understand that corporations aren't just one person. And I get that money's more important than pleasing people, because money is just what the corporate world runs on. But what I guess I'm trying to say is that if the corporate world doesn't realize that we are people and money comes from the people, then they're just not gonna get the money. To solve this problem, I would just recommend not buying products from companies that don't treat you as a human being. If those companies don't treat you with respect, then you don't have to buy stuff from them. That's pretty much all I have to say about this subject, but I think there is more to be said. I think as long as corporations keep acting like this, it'll always be a problem. This isn't something that just goes away because we want it to. This has to go away because we do something about it. So don't just sit there and take it. If you feel like you're not being treated right, do something about it. I don't care how good their product is. If you feel like they aren't treating you as a person, then they don't deserve your money. It's as simple as that. This has been my opinion. I'm Ethan Guerin, and this has been The Wolf of Wall Street.